Today on Off and On the Clock, we got training camp news flying. What are we buying? What are we selling? We're also going to do a little interrogation of running back twos on Underdog. What should we be looking for when we add these guys to our teams? How can they help us win these tournaments? Who knows? Maybe a little pick 'em with some Underdog specials in the lobby with some discounted Dolphins. And of course, naturally, we'll wrap things up with a draft. This is Off and On the Clock with Pete, John, and Nez. Let's do it. All right. Was I taking a peek in the chat and seeing you guys have had some big wins recently? I did see a screenshot from John. Tell me what you guys took down recently.
Sorry, I was on mute there. Last night, yeah, we had a nice day in the baseball streets. John and I took 1, 2, and 3 in the baseball main slate. So
and 6 and 10 and 11.
Yeah. So we kind of dotted that thing left and right. So that was great for the brand equity.
Had you guys talked about a lot of the plays on the show?
Yeah, we did. We did not gloss over them, but it was like an Oakland A's night, and we took some time to talk about that game more than the other games. I definitely wasn't like gung ho on it. I think my exact words were I wanted to force myself to get to that game, but I did, and had good results from it. Like we kind of talked about it more and more. We're like, this is kind of an oddly high total for an Oakland game in Oakland. And we talked about Lawrence Butler being a stud, but it was a paywall stream. So, +1 for the paywall. If you're not a member yet, go ahead and join up. $5 a month. That's less than an entry a day or a month.
All the alphas behind the paywall. You guys got to become YouTube members to get all the info on those daily slates. I had a ton of good feedback on the weekly winner show I did with Michael Chang. That was paywalled on After Dark over on my YouTube channel. A lot of people getting a ton of value out of that. So yeah, it's 2024. You got to pay for the good stuff these days. You guys are, I should put sleeves on right now and save it for behind the paywall, but I think I've already exposed myself enough. Well, congratulations on the podium finishes there,
Thank
guys. You. I guess real quick, any news that has caught your eye? I've been, writing the Fantasy Life newsletter daily now. So starting to see, some interesting reports kind of coming out. Obviously there was stuff about Javonte Williams, which I think is pretty interesting. I've been thinking about that one a lot. And the thing I'm trying to be a bit better about this year is like, a lot of times people say, okay, this could be noisy or it's unsubstantiated, but I do think there's something to like that steady drum. And I remember last year, the Rashad Penny, when they said he was on the roster bubble, we didn't like that beat reporter. Mm-hmm. We said there's unreliable. I kind of just put my head in the sand. He doesn't know what he's doing. There was clearly directionally accurate truth to that report. Obviously he made the team, but he was not part of their plans. Mm-hmm. To see the entire Denver beat reporters on a united front that Javonte is like not a big part of what Denver is trying to do this year. Like, I don't think we can ignore that. And I think you can ignore one thing in an isolated vacuum, but that's the kind of stuff I'm trying to be better at this year because that one's starting to spook me a little bit.
It's funny that you bring that one up because it's on the cover and led the show and whatever. But while you were on the Swole cast, did you see the most recent update? Benjamin Albright is tweeting about how we might have got out ahead of our skis and that Javonte Williams was running with the ones today.
He's pushing back against the other ones. Okay.
Yeah.
Here we go.
So Albright's report was other observations from day one. And it was just another quote from Sean Payton said, I thought Javonte looked real sharp today. And that was like the only other one. But yeah, it was just interesting that for all the stuff we had been hearing prior to today, in the last 30 minutes, that was the little nugget that came through. So I have no idea what to believe at this point.
Yeah, I think that what holds true about Denver is that they're going to have a ton of usage is in the backfield, no matter who is the running back in Denver. And Albright, coming out and saying it, I mean, just reporting what's happening, actually for the first time in Denver, getting, real life concrete information here that Javonte is running with the ones. What he has been saying consistently this offseason is that he thinks Estime has the leg up at RB2 over Jaleel, which the market doesn't have. The market obviously has a 40 pick gap between McLaughlin and Estime, and we have this Estime steam. So maybe it is Javonte RB1, but Estime, I think, is still undervalued regardless. And I also think it's interesting that Estime and Javonte are extremely similar. backs. They both kind of do the same things really well. They're not going to juke you out of your shoes or anything. They're just like really good power backs that just are hard to tackle. So it's kind of interesting that they might be the 1-2 punch there, and they're like carbon copies of one another.
I do think it's one of the most interesting backfields. And I would, I think where I'm at just from an actionable standpoint is I'm not taking Javonte at ADP. He's already dropping in drafts. He went, 11, 12 picks after ADP in my draft today. So even if you love Javonte, I don't think you take him at ADP because the market is going to react. So make sure you're getting kind of cheaper prices on him. But I do completely agree that like Estime is just a guy you have to be hammering right now because there's so much that can push him up. Like there's a lot of different things. Even if it's just clear that he is the locked and loaded RB2, he's too cheap, just even behind Javonte, much less some of this uncertainty about who gets cut, yada, yada. So that's mainly how I've been prioritizing it. Like if we blink in 2 weeks and Estime's like a 14th round pick, is anyone going to be surprised? I mean, it seems like that's where we're headed.
Yeah, I mean, there's two sides to this coin. Nez did a really smart thing in his puppies that we talked through behind the paywall yesterday, where you basically did. I mean, you can explain it, Nez, in 1 sec here. But I was thinking through the other side of the coin is, are we just so thirsty for any running back in that back end to be a palatable click that we're just like jumping all over this one right now because it's kind of like the only working thesis in news that we have to feel comfortable, in quotations, clicking over and over again, and it's not actually a spot we want. Like, we know the Peyton offense has been very friendly to running backs and multiple running backs multiple times, but is there just like a non-zero chance that this is a 4-win Broncos team and this doesn't matter at all, and we should be focusing our attention like somewhere else if we had a different nugget of news? I think that's like my biggest maybe like pushback right now of steaming up to like 14th round.
It could be true, but he's not going in the 14th, and he's going to rise. Like we know for a fact he's going to rise. So you can either make the decision to be in or out. But if you want to be in, like, do it now. Like in the fast puppies, I just maxed that. I finished with like 42 shares of Estimate, like almost all in the 18th. I didn't anticipate doing that, but just like, for 2 weeks now, we've been talking about Estimate's getting a ton of steam, for better or worse, and nobody was budging. It was just so obvious that the steam was coming, and so that was really what that was about. It's just kind of a market-based play.
There was both a good and funny conversation exchange on Twitter yesterday between Leone and Liam about CH, and then other people weighing in on the conversation. But I do think what they were talking about is a good way to kind of frame this stuff too, where if you're not taking like the estimates or say the other rookie guys, like I love Will Shipley right now. He's a guy that I click a lot. Still don't have a lot of hard news on like what his role is or whatever. But to me, the kind of thing we're weighing is certainty for a running back too. That's more of a proven commodity, even if it's a talent profile we don't like. So your Tank Bisbees, your CHs, your Damian Pierces. And I guess I hear the arguments on both sides. We don't want to be taking the zeros right now, but we also like, if you're taking a lesser talent and then they're not the RB2, like you don't have like close to 100% certainty the RB2, like that's just as bad, right? So I think with Estime, you're kind of able to middle both of those things. You're getting a rookie. You are getting a guy that, was drafted by this regime, the first kind of running back that they've kind of planted their flag on a little bit. I know the draft capital wasn't there, but to me, it's hard to imagine him not being the running back too, just with what McLaughlin's profile is. Like McLaughlin's going to be used in a certain way, whereas who's the number 2 if Javonte gets hurt at the goal line? Like it's going to be Estime. So I think if you can middle his spot on the depth chart for the big body touches while also getting some of that like mystery box, like what if he is just really good? Like in a way we know Damian Pierce or Bigsby isn't. He kind of does triangulate a perfect late round pick right now, but I'm with you. Like if he rises 2-3 rounds, then I think we have to like completely reframe the conversation.
Yeah, for sure. Who do you guys think is a better click right now? Like him, Braylon Allen, Khalil Herbert, Bucky Irving? Like how high? Like Elijah Mitchell? Like how high? Who do you think's a better click right now? Let's keep it like BBM specific.
I mean, I click Braylon Allen over him every single time. but they're different bets, right? Like I have no illusions of Braylon Allen having like much of a standalone role. Like maybe he'll get 4 to 5 touches a game, but like that is clearly just contingent upside smash. We pay a lot more for Tyler Algier, those types. And he's like young and really good. At least that's what the Jets are telling us. Whereas with Estime, it's like there's a wider range that you can get excited about. Like he could have 12 to 15 carries right off the rip, which is pretty fun.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's what I really want to wait for is a little bit more coach speak on Estime and a little bit more clarity on his role and what they plan on having this backfield look like. Because then, and this is like a pretty good lead into the discussion today, he kind of represents somebody that has contingency value and potentially some standalone value. And if that happens, I mean, not that he's in a great offense, but that puts him in like in an elite tier, in my opinion, of RB2s when we are looking at who is the RB2 on their own team. You have a guy that is going to have like a pretty decent standalone role if that is the case with contingency. And I think that's kind of like what I'm going for when I'm drafting running backs that are not starters when I draft BBM.
Yeah, checks out, man.
Yeah, so Nez, set the table to kind of segue into some of these kind of running backs and a specific cohort that you thought would be interesting to discuss.
Yeah, so I threw together this sheet, and I mean, there's no like direction for it necessarily, but it is just a look at all of the running backs on Underdog, obviously. They're the ADP of their RB2. If they have an RB3, what is the ADP there? That should be there for Saquon. But and then like the delta between them and their RB2 to kind of illustrate who has a large gap between their RB2 and what are we saying about the backfield for those players. So you can see, obviously, we have the RB1s here, and our first RB2 that shows up is David Montgomery, which makes sense. He's an RB2 via ADPs, the second RB on Detroit to go, but goes ahead of a lot of standalone RB1s, and obviously has Gibbs who goes way ahead as well. But he has a really strong standalone role. Obviously, he has the goal line role, and he is going to get himself a ton of carries if the Lions are up in games. Just for example here, right? Like you see, we have our studs with Jonathan Taylor, Saquon, Derrick Henry. Yeah.
Yes. Can you just drag the? I can't see the names on the left hand side. Can you just drag the window for me?
Yeah. Let me.
Thank you. Or yeah, just add a column.
Yeah.
This is why you always dunk on my columns with the extra column when I do the sheet in the middle.
I forgot the overlays are king here.
Yeah. There we go.
Yeah, and I'll zoom in here too as well. So
perfect.
Obviously, we have these guys who are studs, and we don't really have a lot of confidence in their backups as well, and which illustrates, a very low RB2 ADP. And when you get to Zamir White here, I think that this is like a really interesting discussion here. I know that we wanted to talk about RB2s here, but we have Zamir White, who is a pretty affordable RB1. He's one of the cheapest RB1s on Underdog right now, with a RB2 that goes undrafted. He has two, running backs behind him, and Madison and Dylan Laube. Like what is the market saying about Zamir White at pick 87 with an RB2 that goes undrafted? Do we have this much confidence in Zamir White to be the standalone guy that we don't even want to touch the RB2 in Las Vegas? Are we sure Zamir White is good enough to hold the role that none of these RB2s can actually have a role in the season? And plus, if he gets hurt, you potentially have a contingency upside for either Laube or Madison with low ownership. I really think the market is misplaying the Raiders backfield, and it might just be from the angle of the RB2, maybe not from the angle of Zamir White. Because if the market is correct that the RB2 doesn't matter and Zamir White has a good role, then he's a smash. He should be going way earlier. So he's like, and specifically kind of like when I did this exercise and I looked at these numbers between RB2s, he really stood out to me as somebody that potentially like really mispriced in one direction or the other.
I will.
Any thoughts on?
I'll play the counter and
situation.
I'll defend the market in this one, at least with the RB2, right? Where it's like, I'm guessing if you ask most people, they would say if Zamir White got hurt, Alexander Madison would get the early down stuff, and Laube would see an increased role in pass usage. It'd be like a pretty true 50-50 split, Laube pass situations, Madison. And then the market saying, we saw what Alexander Madison does given opportunity. He looked really bad. Laube, sure, might catch some passes. Like, what is that going to do for us on half point PPR? Not going to, get a ton of super high value stuff. And then you say this could be like one of the worst offenses in the league. If it's a true split with these guys, like, is this actually a contingent situation I even want to take a stab on?
Sure. I guess from that standpoint, it's like, if they're not good, are they going to see what they have with Laube? Matt, like, how much worse is Zamir White, or how much worse is Madison from Zamir White? Yeah, I just think there's touches available here. If something were to happen to Zamir White that like people just don't really want, and I just find that pretty interesting that he's one of the cheapest RB1s and the backup is just like not available. And same thing goes with like Singletary here. He's mixed in with other RB2s. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, no, just to the point of the Zamir White one, it's kind of like not all touches are created equal, I guess. Like, whereas if this was basketball and it's just like a backup rotationary point guard stepping into minutes, like minutes are always good, like regardless of what team they're on and the handling role and whatnot. Whereas like touches aren't always like they're always beneficial to like the player, but they could cease to matter at all. Whereas like minutes would always matter. So I get like if Zamir White is good, like I think the thesis here is if Zamir White is good and he is currently mispriced, he should be going where Mike Davis was going like 2 years ago. Like, because that's the same profile archetype, same kind of thesis too. It was going to be like a bad Atlanta team or a potential like 8-win Atlanta team that season. That one feels more palatable than being like, I want Madison. And I think it's like also because we saw Madison in basically one of the most friendly environments he could possibly be in football last year. And it was still with Kirk Cousins out at a couple of those isolated moments, and he fell flat on his face. So I don't know. I think we're all just soured on drinking the Madison Kool-Aid from last year. So we see him as the back and people don't want to click it as much. Right. And then the Laube thing, like they didn't have to bring back Amir Abdullah and they still did. And the overlap in role and skill set there is kind of like, that's unfortunate, let's say,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess I just don't think Zamir White is like a talent that is like otherworldly. And if we think that he's worth a top 100 pick, if he goes down and we have touches available here, they're just, it just seems like a really strong opportunity, in my opinion, based on the ownership. I didn't plan on spending a ton of time on Zamir White, but I just thought like the difference between him and his RB2, granted where he goes, was just like kind of interesting.
Yeah. And I do think that is one like to pounce on, right? If we do get some more clarity about like who's the clear RB2, if they're like, hey, they've been impressed with Laube as a rusher and like there's more room there. Like that's, I think what we're all
I think Laube's my play there is kind of where I'm leaning. He's likely to be the kick returner, or at least he returned kicks, played special teams in college. So, probably going to be active on game days. And John mentioned a little bit of overlap with Abdullah, but if we're going to harp on Madison's professional career being subpar, I think you can say the same for Amir Abdullah as well. And then give me the rookie who, is a little shifty and has some explosiveness in his profile.
Amir Abdullah, preseason darling of what, 2019, something like that, 2018.
Yeah. Let me just sort by actual RB1s here to kind of clean this up a little bit, because I wanted to kind of highlight what we are saying when we draft some of these players. Because with Montgomery, so like the first 4 RB2s off the board, I would say we are not drafting for contingency. We are drafting because they have contingency upside, but we draft them because we like their standalone roles, and the contingency is sort of a bonus. Whereas when you get to Trey Benson and Blake Corum, where these guys go, in my opinion, these 2 back-to-back are strictly being drafted because we think that they have BBM tournament winning upside, but they have to get there first. And I would say that this makes them kind of worse bets, obviously, to actually score points median wise, of course, but upside wise, like, is their upside actually worth it to be drafting them over somebody like Chase Brown, who has a pass catching role with his own contingency upside? With Charbonnet. Charbonnet has his own role. It might not be strong. It could be stronger than we expect with contingency upside. And if Charbonnet has this contingency case and Benson and Corum, how many more points are Benson and Corum scoring over Charbonnet in each of their like nutted outcomes? When looking at this, it really makes me want to up my Charbonnet exposure by a lot.
I mean, my exposures currently would agree with you right now because I basically have no Corum and no Benson, and I do take that Chase Brown, I do take that Charbonnet, and I do take that swing on Rico Dowdle and Nick Chubb over it. So my exposures currently agree with you because they feel similarly, but I don't know if that's a byproduct of roster construction because of what I'm trying to accomplish with my like running back selection there comparatively to like, what the true zero RB punters are looking to do by shooting the moon for a contingent play. So yeah.
The only thing I would say though, too, is like, we are still, and you can do this about everything, right? Like making assumptions, but like even on the Corum and Benson, I do completely agree. I think the most likely thing is those guys like don't have much of a role at all, but you can also make the case that they have like pretty good standalone value. I know there's people who think that, like Brett Coleman, our underdog guy who's very plugged in with the Rams. He had a clip recently where he said the Rams are bringing in Corum to be like closer to a committee with Kyron. Now, do I believe that? Even as a Kyron fader, I don't fully believe that, but there is room for us to be even wrong about that. And like, if I told you that Blake Corum was going to be in even a 40-60 timeshare with Kyron, you'd be windmilling it in at this ADP. And so that's the other hard thing too, is like, I think with Charbonnet, we kind of know what we're getting. There's so much, stability in that backfield as far as new parties. We know what it looks like with both of them. I guess you could claim the new coaching staff introduces more variables, but I do think like that one, we probably have a higher degree of confidence of like what it looks like. But yeah, I'm even hesitant to like fully say like one guy couldn't have a standalone role, even though I do want to like think through those nuances.
Yeah, that's very fair. There's definitely variables here, right? Like it's not set in stone that these guys are, but I guess that's part of the risk with them. And when you then look at just this range from Austin Eckler to like Ty Chandler, guys that I think we can say pretty confidently. Marshawn Lloyd, I'm more skeptical on his standalone role, but I think we can say Rico Dowdle has somewhat of a standalone role. Ty Chandler, I would say almost certainly does, based on the way Aaron Jones has been used for like the last 5 years of his career. Guys that have roles that can give you points, even if they don't hit their contingency upside, with the chance to usurp some of these other RB2s. So what really got me thinking about this was like pitching a running back. I'm in a big dog with some group of guys, and I'll pitch them. We'll pitch a player, and it's like, well, what's the difference between this player and X player? 20 picks back, and I think you can say that mostly with running backs, like in this range, especially when you're looking at Corum and Benson. But go ahead, John.
No, I was just going to ask, like, when you're doing that exercise, like, is it completely roster dependent what you're seeking and then making an assumption based on the player, or are you always seeking for some form of role no matter what?
I try to make it context. I try to include context. So if I have two running backs that I feel really strongly about their roles, then that gives me a boost, in my own, I got the sidekick in my head where I'm giving Benson a boost or Corum a boost.
I love that. The Sims aren't in my head. The sidekick is in my head.
The sidekick in my head is the Sims of our generation. Fuck yeah.
I love
so I give a boost to those guys that I deem to be riskier bets on their own, where I think I can sneak them in and carry them in if I have a build that warrants that. And I might even go as far as to make that a hyper fragile, where, okay, I have these guys and now I have strong bets on them, where I'm saying on this team, this is the year where Benson overtakes the backfield and or Corum overtakes the backfield, and I have two starters already, so I don't even need backup running backs behind them. As Karain has brought up multiple times, like the new hyper fragile, and doing it in this environment. A lot of fun ways you can do that in this range.
And I will say, as much as I was saying, like there's ambiguity, like I like making my selections contextual based. Like the draft I just did on the Swolecast, took James Cook as kind of like what my quasi anchor. And then I took Jonathan Brooks. And then I came back and grabbed Singletary, like the yin to Jonathan Brooks's yang. Then I grabbed Trey Benson. Then I grabbed Rico Dowdle, the yin to like Benson's yang. And so like kind of pairing those up, I do like how that can work out. And again, it's telling a very clean story in our heads. Maybe, Rico Dowdle is just the true backup to Zeke. Like, could that happen? Sure. But I think it is smart to kind of like balance those profiles and make sure at the end of the day, we do want enough late season upside to win these tournaments. And we know that these rookies have the potential to offer that, but then you just want to make sure you can actually get those teams to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's tough to marry those ideas, I think, for me personally, when I'm drafting. Sometimes I get too like one track minded where, all right, yeah, let's think about this team in week 17. But at the same time, thinking about getting the dusty vets that can give you the enough regular season points to get there. And it's kind of important, at least for me, I'm kind of talking about to myself here, to remember to keep those things, not mutually exclusive.
Yeah, it's a safe space, and you got to coax yourself into these decision-making processes. With the players in this range, guys, I want to ask like anyone that's just been like the clear clicks for you versus clear fades for you, and then the same, I would ask if anyone has heard any bullish news on Trey Benson. Like
the latter, no.
Yeah, like I haven't heard anything about Trey Benson all year.
I think Arizona has like notoriously poor reports out of camp as well, so I don't think that really like helps things. But no, I really have not. But as far as people that I'm hammering, you guys know I am a Bijan bull. But anytime I don't have Bijan on my roster, I am like giving Tyler Algier like a 10-pick boost in my ranks, just because. And if I don't have Bijan, then there's a chance that Algier has that standalone role that I'm like not thinking about. I don't want to think about Tyler Algier potentially getting 40% of the touches. He's a good running back. That could happen. Plus the obvious contingency value there, which like even if Tyler Algier did not have like we knew he was good, but we were like, he's good, but he's actually like, we know for a fact he's only touching the ball 20% of the time. It still is probably too cheap for Algier for the role that he would assume. God forbid anything happened to Bijan.
I think it's a super smart way to play like a portfolio. Same if you were heavy on Breece Hall, you should just have an absolute bag of Braylon Allen at those prices as well. Mm-hmm. The one name here that is the hardest click for me is Kamani Vidal. It's like a few things. One, lots of uncertainty. It's almost like the Estime example we talked about. Like if Estime got pushed up into this range just on pure ambiguity alone, but with maybe even, I guess they had somewhat similar draft capital, but continue to just hear out of Chargers camp. Even today, Levitan tweeted something like, it's Gus Edwards 1, it's J.K. Dobbins 2, and Vidal is fighting with Spiller for the third spot right now. And we're taking this guy straight up. I want Ray Davis over him. Straight up, I want Bucky Irving over him. I'm a portfolio bro, so I'll mix him in on Chargers and Patriots stuff. But that one, man, it scares the hell out of me. I can make good cases for almost every other one of these names over him.
It doesn't help that the coach isn't like, he does not seem like it's Harbaugh, obviously. And I don't see Harbaugh as like a guy like wanting to use like this dynamic Kamani Vidal in his backfield with Roman and Harbaugh there. Like they have Gus and J.K. Dobbins in front of him. I think that kind of tells you the creativity and the imagination that they have with their RB usage is like no cute shit, no funny business. We have ground and pounders, and that's really all that we plan on doing. But man, my rookie signed Isaiah Spiller card would love a little bit of usage for him this season. Let me tell you.
Oh man, I love that. Nez, let's scroll a little bit here because
Sure.
These are the guys that go in like every draft and stuff. I want to kind of like, back on basically what people were talking about the CEH stuff yesterday, back on this, whatever. Like everyone knows I have 88% generic Prince and 88% AJ Dillon now. So
great for the integrity of our brand.
I want to talk. It's amazing how many people think those are real. I want to talk kind of about like this back end, I guess in the same vein as you talked about with the Vegas. ones, but in this back end, like who via camp that we're not drafting can be the next like Estime or whatever.
Mm-hmm. And whose name do you have in mind? You told me you had a name.
I got some gross ones. Yeah, I mean, like I had that. I've been talking about Jahar Jordan for a bit there, and I liked that Jacob doubled down on your video there, Pete. Aren't you worried about Cam Akers signing there? Is a new one? No, not really. But I don't know. The generic Prince one, like, is between him or Keontae Ingram, just because like I'm trying to look for teams that are going to score a shit ton of points, or at least projected to score a shit ton of points, and then just trying to encapsulate, maybe the third guy on that offense. Yeah. Anyways, like Ernest Johnson was a name that like came to mind of like they used him over Tank Bigsby at the tail end of all of last year. Then they retained him. Like, what if that just holds true? And then I did a little more digging there, and I found myself to a Keelan Robinson. This is
I don't even know if he's on the sheet.
Fifth round pick this year. Alabama kid in his freshman year. He played behind Najee and Brian Robinson, then transferred to Texas and had to play behind Bijan Robinson and Roshan Johnson and all these studs, but he still was able to retain some pass catching role. So I'm just thinking of like a path to like a Jags offense with like someone like that. I mean, that's a deep one. Another one I was thinking through was like Jamal Williams potentially, just because like the Kendre Miller reports aren't great. There's a non-zero chance they just rip up Kamara's contract and throw it in the garbage when he shows up. Yeah, I don't know. Just thinking through like some of those kind of crazier names.
Yeah,
I think looking for an RB2 in Jacksonville makes sense.
For sure.
Good.
For sure. No, I was gonna say that literally a few minutes ago there was some more Jawar Jordan hype on the timeline as well. He's having a really good camp, which is all you can ask for some of these guys, right? Like if you hear bad news, to your point, the Kendre Miller stuff, like that it's massively concerning. And I know part of it is injury, but that's also why he hasn't been able to get a steady spot on the depth chart, because he just hasn't been hurt. These names down in this one are very, very hard to get excited about, because you're looking at a lot of RB3s. You're looking at guys who, even if the talent hits, what does that look like, as far as helping our teams? So yeah, I think we are going to start to have guys emerge from this range, like the Jawar Jordan right there. Like, would it shock people if we keep getting these reports over and over again and he really separates from this crew? But man, these names do not do a lot for me. I think I've clicked P. Ryan a couple times this offseason. I think one time I took Deuce Vaughn. I don't know if I've clicked another one of these names on here.
I was thinking about Miles Sanders a little bit, but I don't think
Didn't
that
get
there's
the first carry, dude.
I know, like who's going to be shocked if Miles Sanders ends up getting the first carry this season? Not us, because we are fully embracing ourselves for that level of doom. It is interesting. I'm not, because it's like a new coaching staff there. Are they going to? And I'm taking a shit ton of Chuba. I think Chuba's a great pick, but if it comes around that like, oh, if we get reports that Miles Sanders is like running ahead of Chuba in drills and doing things ahead of Chuba, I will probably be a little scared. I won't draft Miles Sanders, but I am worried that he could like rain all over this parade and eat into both of our bags of Brooks and Chuba, and then it's like, oh shit, like this sucks. None of these guys matter.
I think that's a good one. Oh yeah, I was just going to say that.
You're going to say the same thing. Go ahead.
No, do it.
No, I was going to say it's a good distinction between like thinking between players that are draftable versus like players that will just eat into upside of other players, right? Like, just because that happens and comes to fruition, like that probably doesn't mean we need to draft Miles Sanders, but just his presence alone factors in. Yeah.
And I do think, going back to like trying to pair running backs, like Chuba is a guy when I've needed some early season production that I've talked myself into of, helping a team with a bunch of Bensons and Brookses or whoever. But on the flip side, you could be wrong about that. I mean, I even remember last year, like Sanders getting some burn as the pass catching back. And it was like massively frustrating at the time too, because it was like he wasn't giving anything to the offense, but the team seemed almost stubborn with like, no, we want to make this happen. And so I do think that's a good thing to remember as well, like that it could even blow up the thesis of some of those other super late round picks. Like in our head, like if you knew for a fact this was just a 50-50 backfield, it's Chuba full-blown bell cow until Brooks is like ramped up to speed, like Chuba's an absolute smash, and yet it can tilt the other direction so quick. If I told you Miles Sanders is getting 40% of the touches out of the gate, it's like the worst pick on the board.
Yeah.
It's horrible. The last question that I wanted to have for you guys was with some of these running backs that are really close together, and specifically between Jaylen Warren and Najee Harris. They basically go right on top of each other. Tyjae Spears and Tony Pollard, another one. Specifically for the Steelers, if either Warren or Najee were to go down in this backfield, who do you think would stand to benefit more from production? Najee if Warren's down, or Warren if Najee's down? Because I don't think this is a clear-cut answer.
I think it's Warren if Najee's down.
See, I think it's Najee.
Interesting.
I think Najee, because he has a history of catching a shit ton of balls as a running back. Not that he's super effective at it. And Cordarrelle Patterson there, I think, would like assume more of a Najee role if something were to happen to Najee. Sorry, Pete. Where were you?
No, I think it's really close because you can make arguments both ways. Like Najee's been a decent pass catcher, but Warren has been a decent rusher. I still think that Warren has more of like that Austin Eckler mold where the team might just kind of take off their goggles of like, this was your role for you. And it's like, you're actually a good rusher. You're a good pass catcher. What if we just let you be out there for every snap and see what happens? Yeah. Like I see that happening a little bit more than if it was vice versa, but I do agree it's close.
And then another running back. Sorry, this is like my last point on this exercise here. Go ahead,
one last one on the Steelers one. I think in that same vein, if Najee got like the job in a big way by himself, it would mirror that of like what they used to do with like oh shit, I just lost the guy's name. The old Carolina Panthers guy, D'Angelo Williams. Like when he was there, like I think it would mirror something like that. Whereas if Jaylen Warren gets the role by himself, it would be like old James Conner with the Steelers.
Yeah, I think either one would stand to see a huge boost, like probably like pick fifth, like, you know, around that Josh Jacobs range. If you know, we knew this for certainty. The last one I wanted to highlight was Austin Eckler. And I think Austin Eckler right now is being just thought of as obviously just the RB2 in Washington. And I don't think that we should give guys boost just thinking about like, hey, if something were to happen to the other their running back mate. But if something were to happen to Brian Robinson, like is Austin Eckler assuming his old role? Like what's his snap share look like? What's his usage look like? Does he still have it? I think Austin Eckler is a stronger contingency play at 130 than I think the market is giving credit for. Like he's not a nobody. And if if something were to happen to Brian Robinson, where does he go in drafts? Ahead of Montgomery, right? If we know for a fact he's the RB1, something happens and he's the RB1 for at least the first 8 weeks or of that matter.
I think I would still take David Montgomery. They got like 11 straight games in a dome. They got all the highest team totals. We're not factoring in the reception profile probably won't be there because of Daniels at quarterback comparative to like, you know, what he used to be. And then like they used Chris Rodriguez like a decent amount last year. He could be the early down guy there too. Like there's a non-zero chance Eckler's washed, right? But I don't want to believe it. I want that old school Austin Eckler to come back and it just be at a discount this year. But I wouldn't take him over David Montgomery.
I think the market still, because they're so clearly spooked about his rushing efficiency falling off last year, I think they would probably slot him in the Zamir White mold, where it's like you're the de facto starter, but there's a lot of ways this goes wrong. But man, I'm with you. Like I'm starting to click Eckler a decent clip. Corain and I got him at pick 148 on Best Ball Breakfast. Ooh. I mean, there's zero opportunity cost there. Like it is just an absolute free roll in an offense that we're excited about. I also love him now as initially when you were doing like the Jaden Daniels backdoor stuff, he was like already off the board. Like they both opened, like I think Eckler opened with a higher ADP than Daniels. And now sometimes it's like you can take Daniels and 3 rounds later, you can add Eckler to that. And it's like, what if they do throw a little bit more to the pass catching back? What if Eckler's does bounce back and it was injury related? Like there's so many ways I can tell myself. And it's like, you look at those other backs going in that range. It is the Vidal, it's the Jaleel McLaughlin, it's the Jalen Wright, like guys who can legit be stone cold zeros. And you're going to let me get Eckler in that range there too. I'm buying.
Yeah, I love it. And yeah. Go ahead, John.
No, I was going to go in a different direction. I think the free rolling portion of this equation is good. I was thinking of it in terms of your question, where if like Eckler got pushed up into that range, like I would just not be clicking him or comfortable pushing him up there. Right now, where he currently goes, yeah, he is a pretty big free roll.
Yeah, I love it. That was really it on my RB2 discussions. If you guys had any other names to bring up, I just thought this was really fun to kind of dissect.
I want to get John's take. You know, I've been playing both sides of the Chase Brown, Zach Moss, although I do have way more Chase Brown. I want to get John's take about that clip from Zach Taylor talking about the backfield yesterday, or I guess it was a couple days ago. Did you see that clip, John?
No, I didn't. So I'm in the dark on this one.
So yeah, Zach Taylor was recently asked about the backfield, and he used some very specific language where he said like mixing Zach Moss in, almost in a way you would have expected it to be reversed. Like Zach Moss is the starter, we're going to mix Chase Brown in, and everyone's like ears kind of perked up. And he was also talking glowingly about Chase Brown. And then there was a lot of quick, like knee-jerk takes of like, you know, this backfield ADP should be flipped, yada, yada. So I'll send you that link. I included it in the newsletter that came out today. So check that out. But Des, did you see that?
I did not. That is.
Oh, okay.
Ooh, you have my curiosity. Got my attention.
To the overall point here, I did pump the brakes a little bit on the Zach Moss stuff. We are down to 13.7% there, and we did get the Chase Brown up to 12% as of right now. That's
awesome.
Yeah, so we've kind of been doing a little bit of a balancing act and just being like, yo, I'm not 100% correct on this choice. I just want exposure to the environment as a whole. So I do like that one. I actually, I'll float you guys 2 other crazy ones, okay?
Okay.
We've already anointed Elijah Mitchell, the backup. Is that correct? I'm seeing an Isaac Guerrero hamstring in there, which doesn't help the case of this. But I'm thinking about Patrick Taylor. I'm thinking about Jordan Mason. I'm thinking about all these bodies in there. Run game coordinator is now OC there. So I don't know, just asking if we've anointed the right guy thus far there.
I mean, this is like the inverse of like the CEH stuff, right? Where it's like, oh, Demaric Prince is working in and Kadarius Toney is maybe converting to running back and yada, 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 you know, where it's like Guerrero, who's like the one main threat, not a ton of draft capital, now injured. Is he going to get a lot of cracks to solidify himself? Like, to me, this does a little bit further cement, you know, Mitchell as just a really strong pick. Like, if you're on the CEH trade, maybe just pivot that take over to Eli Mitchell and you'll do fine there.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I mean, they go in the same vicinity there. We're like, yeah. Neds, you got a comment on that one?
No, I think Eli is. I don't have a lot of Eli Mitchell right now, but I think he's somebody that I should be taking more of for sure. I think losing sight of how much they loved Eli the last 2 years, I think still holds true. I think they do have an affinity for him, and I think they trust him. And if something were to happen to CMC, I think Mitchell is at worst getting an even split of the work. And we see him get work in the red zone, even, or at least we have in seasons of past, where he would get work in the red zone when CMC was on the field, but it was just kind of in more important games where Elijah Mitchell just didn't sniff the field. So maybe in the regular season, we get back to that. Hey, Elijah Mitchell's getting 20% of the snaps and, he has some carries in the red zone. You know, that's not out of the question. Plus, obviously, the contingency.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Like they've been vocal about wanting to protect his workload and stuff like that. Okay, I had another crazy last gal brain one. Actually, there's 2 things I want to say. Can I say the first thing I want to say? is I don't want to lose sight of draft profiles and guys we liked in the big board window comparative to now, just because we think they have like jobs coming their way and stuff like that. Kind of brings it full circle to the estimate point where bad combine, people dubbed him a plotter, blah 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 blah. Like, I'm not ready to just be like, even if he had a role, he's going to be good in said role. Not to harp on estimate, it's just like a pretty clear example. I don't really know what to think of Audric Estime right now in a vacuum. The other one in that same vein is like, everybody liked Braylon Allen a lot coming out. People are really excited about Jets offense. They love the contingent upside of him there. Are we turning the lights off on Isaiah Davis too quickly? He went 30 picks behind him to the exact same team. If you loved Braylon Allen so much to be your clear-cut backup this year, to be the contingent piece to Breece Hall, would you take another running back 30 picks later?
I guess the only thing that we have to go off of is like Braylon Allen just so clearly being the RB2. That's really like what is.
But why is he so clearly?
Because that's how he was used in OTAs. He was like he was the guy. And all the beats back that up. That's what really drove that, as opposed to like, oh, he's the RB2. It was like he was drafted and he was like getting first crack and they were glowing about him. So that's the only reason why. But I think that says a little bit maybe more about Breece than maybe Braylon. Like why do they keep taking these fun upside backs when they have Breece? Makes you
why'd they sign Dalvin Cook last year? I don't know. I was just something I was thinking through when I was looking at some crazy stuff. But anyways, I've gone too far with it all.
It's fun. It's a fun topic. It's a fun convo.
Yeah, sorry, Pete.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, should we build this way too early, pick them for week 1 and then hop a draft and you got to get out of here kind of deal?
Yeah, I got to get out at 3, but yeah, let's check this out. I know Underdog giving us some discounts in the lobby here to take advantage of.
Yeah, this is the way too early pick'em lobby that is available for week 1 right now. Tyreek's on the cover because we said we're going to build something out there. Another new feature with the pick'em stuff we talked about on the paywall yesterday is the streak stuff, reminiscent of the beat the streak home run stuff. If you used to play that on MLB.com, or ESPN had one for a little bit there. Really fun idea that they've moved over to here. So you just build a pick'em, you win the 2 there, and then you just keep adding on, and you add one each day or each isolated slate after those ones have been gone, and you can get all the way up to like 10x for that. So beat the streak is pretty cool. But I think we kind of settled on, if we're going to build a week 1 that is way too early, we start with Tyreek Hill as our favorite of the free squares.
Yeah,
absolutely.
This one, it's like the Waddle stuff always seems like a little binary, where like Tyreek Hill, we just know is going to be a pinnacle of consistency and like can legit get this in 2 plays.
Yeah, literally. That is literally the thesis. I always mess this up. Nez, do you remember where just because there's the season one, and then is it under football that there's just the daily ones? Maybe if you just put week 1 in, we can.
Nope, definitely not.
No?
No, I've lived in this pick'em lobby. Let me see here, because I know on mobile it's definitely, I know they've got all these like options up here, but yeah, interesting. I thought there was just
I thought there was a.
All right, well, if you type in Dolphins, you do get some more. It looks like I don't think they have the week 1 stuff right now.
No, they do.
They had it. Yeah.
Yeah, hit the. Well, they only have 3.
Sorry,
they have
I just
Tua, Waddle, and Tyreek. I'm looking at it right now. You guys are on the season long tab. You're on the season long tab.
Now
you got to
I
go to just
yeah.
NFL. Yeah, there it is. Yep.
Here we go.
We're back.
Now we're back. There we go.
I don't even know these week 1 matchups. I'm trying to look them up right now on the fly here.
Here's my core before I have to dip. Tyreek, we take the special higher than 77.5. We take Tua on his normal line higher than 261.5. We bring it back with Christian Kirk higher than 58.5. Gabe, Brian Thomas, they're going to need a few weeks to get acclimated in here. Kirk's going to run the show in week 1.
I love how we went straight back to playing the hits here with the game stack correlation. We see this is our week 1 favorite game. Bang.
Love it. Beautiful. Send me the link to what we round this out with. And this is a nice warm up for off and on the clock. I mean, one of my favorite things in season was building these 5-leggers on Friday afternoons. And God, this is scratching the itch right now.
That was straight.
We're going to have to do one like every show. See you, Pete.
Yeah. See you, Pete. Dude, they are absolutely not giving us the spicy marks to start.
Oh, hell no.
They are scared to give us the Kyle Pitts spice.
Because they know it's too strong. They know we're gonna crush it.
Nez, if we lean into this game environment, doesn't feel great. I was gonna say, yeah, that one doesn't feel great. We got Minnesota Giants, Tennessee, Chicago at Chicago, doesn't feel great. Ooh, Denver, Seattle at Seattle.
Can you go? Let's look at Cincinnati. Cincinnati had some really, chin scratching lines there.
Okay. We got Bengals.
Yeah, look at the. Yeah, look at this. What do you think about the Zach Moss projection? It was at first 70. It's been now moved to 68.
That's high.
I think that's high too.
That's high. We gotta hedge here. The lower Zach Moss here.
Okay, I like the lower. And then what do you think about do you just want to go right into T. Higgins on the higher, like 49.5?
I think I kind of like going somewhere else than this. I think I like just playing this as a one-off lower, and then we can go somewhere else with it. I like this Jefferson shout in the chat. I do agree that this might be the lowest Bijan one we see, but it's also the Steelers. I don't know. Like, doesn't that feel like tough sledding?
No, it definitely does. I don't know that I like that one. I think the Steelers are going to play a really slow brand of football, and I think that might be pretty sharp. If it was total yards, I would maybe take like the higher on like 91.5 total yards or something.
Right. The Giants don't even have a piece in the secondary. This Jefferson one at 81 feels good.
Yeah. That seems easy.
Man, you want to double down on your Javonte not RB1? Right there.
He might still be the RB1. I just think Estime's RB2.
Sure. Yeah. That's fair. I didn't mean like yours. I was kind of like the collective.
Sure.
Like the stance of everybody.
Man,
this could be a fun little game here. Rams, Detroit, Sunday nighter.
I know. I wish this was on the main slate, but that's going to be a nice primetime palooza for us to draft there. You get a good gauge of these what these projections are saying about these teams, though, right? By looking at this in a high-scoring matchup and looking at some of these projections here.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have any of the touchdown scoring ones. Like a little David Montgomery spicy touchdown here would be a fun one. Wow, Kyron 77.5. That might be the highest non-CMC rushing projection on the.
Yeah, slate. Is Derrick Henry? What's Derrick Henry's?
That's a good question. 71.5.
Who's that against? KC?
Yeah, at KC. That's the Thursday nighter to open the season.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's roll with this, Des.
Almost
16x. You can only get $10 down because of the special there. If you guys want to choose to use your special alongside us, I know you got to lock up that $10 for a bit, but that you're never going to get the closing line value on these pick'ems.
Guarantee it.
Yeah, Blake suggesting the Zamir White lower in the same vein that we did the Moss lower. That feels good. Bijan revenge game against Arthur Smith. I didn't even put the Arthur Smith revenge game narrative together in my head. That's nasty.
Yeah, I do like the lower on Zamir White, 59.5, but
Nico, 61 yards. If he's the true alpha there and is the second round pick that we think he is.
Diggs at 63.5.
Diggs at 63.5. Interesting. Wow. There's a little flippening of the meta in week 1 already.
Yeah.
Cade suggesting the lower on the Kyler rushing. That's a good one too.
Yeah.
Man, community is on it. Community has been sifting through this stuff.
What do you say? You ready to draft?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's hop in here. Man, that I'm in lockstep with Pete right now. That did give me the itch there.
Yeah, we're gonna be lighting it up this season.
All right, let's do this. Only 89 BBMs left for me to get in. The haters are in shambles right now that I might actually make it, Nez.
I always believed in you.
Said you and my mother, and that's it.
Pick 12. This will be fun.
Yeah, ML dropping in here with some camp news. Yeah, we talked about the Javonte one a bit there. Yeah, the Ayuk one was coming across people's timelines here where he was at practice but not in uniform, didn't practice. Both him and Trent Williams, same thing. So we'll see. Passive holdout, soft holdout.
Pick 12 here. Do you have like a favorite 12-13 combo when you've been here? Or is it just like trying to get the Puka Marvin Harrison stuff as often as possible?
No, I just push the plane, dude. I roll this 112. I just fucking push the plane and go to the next one.
Roll another one. It's for the best.
Man, I don't know. Yeah, just I guess you always hope for that Puka combo or like Garrett Wilson fall or something like that. I mean, I don't mind taking Gibbs. I don't mind pushing some players up there. I mean, I haven't done anything like quote unquote crazy yet from this side. I take a lot of Chris Olave just like in a vacuum. So I do end up like taking him at the corner, like him in London together feel good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let's talk about the Lamb one though. You think we see a little bit of a discount or something like that? I had the 101 last night. Took CMC here. Admittedly, like I don't have 0% CD Lamb as my tweet alluded to, but I don't have a ton because it's very specific this year. If you don't take him 101, you have to roll 102, and he never falls to 103. So it's kind of like, what are we doing here? So for me, I basically always. I basically have accidentally ended up overweight Christian McCaffrey comparatively and then don't have a lot of CD Lamb. So I'm kind of hoping we get a little bit of a discount here. Anyways, long-winded way of saying he fell to 4 last night in one draft, but that's the furthest I've seen.
No, I think we're going to see him fall. I just think drafters overreact to this holdout stuff all the time. Tyreek Hill, in my opinion, is like just as good of a pick as CD Lamb. I think Tyreek Hill has the better week-to-week ceiling. So it would not surprise me at all to see Tyreek flip CD.
Yeah, I mean, I can't disagree with that. I mean, it just the longer it goes to the trajectory of it, like the more casuals you get in here and the longer the news cycle rolls. Yeah, 100%.
Mm-hmm. So it'll be nice because I would like some more CD as well.
Brett accidentally joined the draft prior to knowing it was a stream one and then just jumped in with us. That's good. That is good.
Ooh,
GM Neil, what's going on here?
Shit. Little H-Chan at pick 10.
Love
Brown falling to 11.
Marvin Harrison at 5 there. Sweeney's getting weird with it there.
Are we gonna pick?
Sure. Puka and Garrett Wilson together on the same team.
Yeah, that's a little rare. A little bit of a mild GM. It's not tweet worthy, but it counts.
I think the kids would classify it as a borderline GM. Borderline.
It's rare. It officially gets flagged as rare.
Yeah. Hitting on a couple things in the tweet here. No cap suggesting the Olave plus Adams or the Gibbs plus Debo at the corner there. Those are kind of fun. The Gibbs plus Debo is going to become increasingly more common. And the counter to it is, aren't you worried that the teams in the middle of the board that execute that will execute it better, but I don't give a fuck. Like, I think it's a good idea.
I didn't think I was going to get CLV on Debo just because I was taking him so often in the second round, but he's now moving up slowly but surely, like every day, that I actually do have one pick of CLV on Debo, despite like taking him all the time in the second round. I did not
Yeah.
think that that was going to be possible. So I am feeling pretty good about that. I'm not going to lie. I'll take my flowers from myself on that one.
I like it, man. Looking at some interesting combos here. The Amon-Ra Debo game correlation there. It'd be interesting to see what Sweeney does here. I would take Neighbors and do like a combo that, I mean,
Yeah.
you could push it and see if Neighbors falls to 29. But like, if you're gonna do the push up of Marvin Harrison, like do it with Neighbors and just shoot the moon, right?
Oh
Go
wow!
Olave.
I thought maybe he was going to set up like a double Rams potentially, maybe like a Cup and Kyron.
Ooh, that'd be fun too.
Yeah, because I mean, I don't hate it necessarily. I mean, watching Hard Knocks is having an effect on me, John.
Mhm.
Marvin Harrison in these interviews on Hard Knocks, he's a fucking grown ass man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just absolute fucking dude, and so is Neighbors for that matter.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I prefer my football players to be grown ass men and not 5'9" speedsters who run hot on touchdowns.
Yeah, that's fair, man. That's fair. I mean, poor Tank Dell catching strays for no reason right now, but
Oh,
I
is that
hear
a Tank
you.
Dell stray?
Yeah, Paid. I was talking to Nez while it was going down last night. The Connor Wong going 0 for 5 and give me a goose egg in first there while I was leading. And then all I needed to fade was not Shea Langoliers or Toro getting on base. Or actually, I think it was like 6 points or something because I was going to get the quality start or something like that. And Shea Langoliers, I had it over here, and he was 0-2 count, and he looked awful. It was a slider that he just like looked at, and then he whiffed like a full sword on the 0-2 count, and then a hanging slider that he just fucking hit to the moon. And I was like, oh, that's Nez. Like, just
I told you, I was like, man, I have all the Shea with my A stuff. I was pissed about it. And then lo and behold, he hits a tank. And yeah, there we are. And I didn't realize I was watching the Ohtani at bat because I wanted that Giants Dodgers game to end ASAP. I'm just like, I know that I'm holding the lead. Please just end. Because the Dodgers fuck me all the time. They're the late night hammer, and I never have them because I stay true to our brand, never Dodgers. But I did have an Ohtani team, and if Ohtani would have hit a tank in that ninth inning, I think I would have had like 1, 2, and 4.
Okay.
Yeah, we almost really had ourselves a night, but no, I'm super pumped about that.
Were all of them 4-man A's, or was there one that was Devers plus Ton?
One was Devers and O'Neill.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty
I
decent
did-
fall on Devers there.
I
Admittedly.
did 36 lineups last night, and I did 60% Devers and like 38% Ton, and just paired them together every single time I could. That's like
Smart.
that was my thesis. Was just like discounted Coors Go Burr, and then I just stacked Contrarian around them. So basically, all I stacked around them was Arizona, A's, and one other team I can't remember. Royals.
Mhm.
Oh, Royals, because I rolled Devers plus Witt a couple times too. All right, Nez, we got some decisions here. We got the Puka and Wilson start here. Laporta, Kelsey, some wide receivers, the usual suspects. What do you like?
Do you want to do the Chiefs thing or no?
Not really, no. I'd rather do Laporta and something.
All right, let's take Laporta.
I'm not a huge. I mean, I get the Chiefs.
You don't like the best quarterback in the world and pairing up all his pass catchers? Just say it. Just say you don't like the best quarterback in the world and all his pass catchers. It's fine, John. Wear it on your. Say it with your chest. I like Pickens here.
Okay.
But if you want to scroll down, like I like wide receivers here and just like pissing yellow and just like adhering to the structures that we know are successful. But if you want to go a running back, we can.
No, let's do Pickens. I'm fine with it. I don't take a ton of Pickens, admittedly. Like, this is a rare combo, and then we add Pickens to it. I think you and I are quite starkly different in some of the players we like in different pockets this year thus far. which is cool. It's good dynamic for drafting together, and it's good dynamic for our streams and stuff. But and also for like our builds. So yeah. Anyways, yeah, like okay, so like my thing with like the Mahomes shit is I don't really care. Like we've done this exercise so many times with Mahomes that like I want to have Mahomes. I want to have him tethered to Kelsey. I want to have him with like some Rice and some whatever sprinkled in. But like my Mahomes thesis is the same as in our daily slates, that it's always skinny stacked. Like going full onslaught with Mahomes is bad because you're using 3 roster spots. Maybe it's not bad. It's bad in quotations because you're using 3 roster spots to make 2 wide receivers. You're Frankensteining together. Like you're not shooting for ceiling outcome at that point. You're just making a correlated bet on the same offense because there's basically no path in my mind that you could go Burr with 3 wide receivers or 2 wide receivers plus Kelsey from that offense, just given how he's played for years and how the offense has been for years. Now, if you wanted to sell me on Mahomes, Kelsey, Pacheco, I'm listening a little bit more to that, or Mahomes, Kelsey, Rice. But I don't want to do it with the double wide receivers, if that makes sense. That's kind of like where I'm at.
Yeah, no, I think that's totally fine to think about it from a 1 week standpoint and say, yeah, I don't want that. I'd rather just take a bet on one or the other. Yeah, that's totally fine. I think where I'm at, and I think this applies to all the quarterbacks starting, in round 3, specifically for like Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts, is being okay reaching for these quarterbacks and these elite quarterbacks and setting yourself up for easier stacking if your thesis for that draft is this quarterback is QB1 and he's crushing, as are his teammates, and I want to set up something for, even if it's just a skinny stack, for week 17. I think it's something that we should be doing more often. I mean, it was just last year we were taking these quarterbacks in the second round, and
right.
and some of their situations got a lot better.
Yeah. I think the macro is definitely correct, and it's something that I've been doing a lot of, where it's like we look at that tier of round 4 wide receivers that we're pushing up, and I would just basically rather have quarterback every single time than just doing like Amari, F1, T Higgins, blah blah blah.
You would rather have the quarterbacks?
Yeah, because we're getting that discount, and I'm kind of like, I don't really care which one it is necessarily. It's just kind of which one makes sense for the build.
Yeah, because if we're thinking about it, right? Like they're such safe bets, and if you're like, I don't really like the situation for Amari, I don't like the situation with Pickens or Higgins. Like all those guys have way more warts than what these QBs have, and they're far less likely to like kill your team.
Right.
Where you can't really say the same for these other picks around them, which is I think what you were like alluding to.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. We get a bit of a read fall here if you want it. And then I think maybe running back with the other one, unless you want to go full piss boy, but I'll hear you out, dog.
Let's Reed's been falling a lot lately. Okay. Which running back do you like here? I think we should take one at least.
I think I like to flip the board a little. We're gonna
we can take Reed, it's fine. I would like to do at least one of these running backs, I think.
Okay, we'll take Reed then.
Okay.
We'll take Reed. Or we'll take Kyle Pitts, apparently.
Oh. That's all right. Elite. We got an elite build.
We got the double elite tight end build that we're gonna land the plane here. Okay, now I say we take Reed. I don't think we should.
No, we can't take a running back now. Okay. So in our future, we should be looking at Brian Robert. We need to do something here that makes this make sense.
Okay. All right. Well, we had such a great start with this Puka and Garrett Wilson, and me forgetting that I was on ranks instead of ADP, and then didn't star method it up, and we talked our way out of the plane always crashes. Always. That is the beauty of the BadgeBros.
At least it wasn't like a third tight end. We can at least flex these guys together. We're gonna make this work. We're gonna make this work.
Oh my god! Do not try this at home. Gosh,
We could make
not great.
this. We could make this a like. I guess we don't have to lean into week 17 too hard with Atlanta if we have 2 tight ends here.
Yeah, because hopefully we're playing Laporta in week 17.
Well, maybe we're playing both. Maybe one of them's a flex.
I don't think that's how you win on Underdog Fantasy, but I'm not entirely sure.
I mean, it's too late at this point.
This is the equivalent of like taking 2 catchers that are going to play like 5 games in a week or whatever.
well, let's think this through here. How do we make this work here? Because we're obviously right now like done at tight end, quite obviously, done at tight end.
Yeah, we are done it.
We're pissing yellow.
Okay.
So, do we make this a 6 running back build or a 7 running back build based on? It probably depends on the next pick.
My mind instantly goes to you kind of take this like fake anchor running back, or maybe you get a fall and you take another one, and then you piss for like ever, and then you take 4, and then you take 3 quarterbacks kind of thing. Like,
because what's interesting is we have like free reign at our stacks other than Jordan Love. Like we would have to like make a pretty costly investment into Jordan Love. I don't think his ADP really lines up well on that side of the board.
Right.
Potentially what we could do is make this like a 3-6-7-2 where we like go really heavy running back these for like the next bit. Yeah. I think we can do something like that where we just load up on this quote unquote dead zone here.
Yeah, I like this. You guys are the Mariners. That's a really good one. Cal Raleigh
so
and Mitch Carver hitting in the middle of the lineup.
That is so offensive.
I love that. Speaking of baseball, whom is winning baseball games right now?
The Pirates, of course, won 5-0 over the Redbirds.
Did anyone do anything in that baseball game that mattered?
No.
Okay.
No score from the Pirates really matters there.
I played a good amount of Brian Reynolds this morning. I thought he was in a really good spot. He was really popping in my stuff, and then he just decided not to play baseball today.
Back spasms. Gotta love it. Let's just throw the season in the goddamn trash.
Savage doing exactly what we'd like everyone to do. He liked and he subbed. Don't let him down. Well,
thank you, dude.
We are renowned for letting everybody down out here, but we will try our best to land this plane.
The only people we're letting down is ourselves right now. Pete's gonna like subtract equity from this. He's like he's not gonna want any part of this.
Oh, I forgot Pete was involved in this. Perfect. Our EV just flattened out a little bit. I just got a little more money back in my pocket.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, he's involved here. Don't let him tell you different.
Oh man. Yeah, Nez, I think we're gonna have like the typical pocket of running backs come our way here, and we're gonna have the evergreen.
They're kind of going early.
Yeah, we're gonna have that evergreen discussion of what to do with Najee versus Warren versus Moss versus whatever here. Trout doesn't fit our team. Dak doesn't fit our team. Jordan Love does, but we probably don't want it. An Addison fall is not the worst thing in the world. It gives us some 17 correlation as well. I mean, if you think
Zig's got him.
If you take Rashi Rice because you think the suspension is going to get pushed and backdated, well, like Addison's incident happened way after, so wouldn't his be in the same camp there?
Yeah, there's just a lot of different examples of things getting taken care of that same year. I'm okay with Addison here. He falls obviously a lot right now, but
who's our RB1 then? Do you like a
Najee or Aaron Jones?
You like those better than everybody else available?
We can double up on running back if you want, man.
Yeah, let's do the Addison thing. Okay. I like this plan.
Yeah, I would. Who's your call here? Because I would say Najee.
I'd say Najee. Yeah, I'm good with Najee.
Okay.
I mean, like, he does feel like the safest in quotations of like anchor running back. We've already made the George Pickens bet here, so like
Mhm.
there's a little bit of correlation there on a team level. Yeah, I mean, maybe just passing on Addison and taking 2 there is better from a roster construction standpoint, but taking Addison is just so much fucking fun. Like
It's nice because even if in the worst case scenario where
yeah.
he is suspended this season, God forbid it's not, that it's early as possible and not like in the playoffs, because I guess it's kind of in the range of outcomes. But let's say he's suspended before then, we can at least withstand that with that start that we have with those 4 wide receivers. So it kind of, we're prepared for anything with the Addison news, and I do
Yeah.
think that this could be, it could end up with no suspension. It could be later, like you said. These things are tricky. So
Yeah.
I think I'm going to end up buying the dip.
This is interesting that Purple Yosh saying that DUIs aren't going to get delayed like multi-felony case. Interesting thought. I don't know.
They do seem to be taken care of faster in previous years, but
Okay.
yeah, at any rate, man, I'm going to buy the Addison dip, because if he's going to go behind Keon Coleman and JMO, I'm probably going to end up taking Addison.
Right, because there is just like this, whether it's real or not, like we love to give ourselves credit for knowing what the fuck we're doing out here, and like we get so hyper blinders and niche here that like we're staring at these boards over and over and over again and we think we're right. Like there's a non-zero chance that there's like 40 landmines in this like pocket right here, and there's like 30 better picks in like 10 through 12 or whatever, right? But like there is a huge mental break after JSN. It's like JSN, wildcard Addison, and then it's like all these running backs go, and Curtis Samuel sometimes gets pushed up if people like him. Coleman, nobody knows what to do with. But there was a quote about him being super raw today, which we kind of already knew, but then to hear it from the coach is like doubling down on that. And then the JMO one, right? And then there's like this huge gap. And then the next tier of like Palmer, Sutton, Cooks, whatever, is like 2 rounds later. They're probably not actually 2 rounds apart in terms of like their actual output by season's end, but like it's just the landscape of this right now, right?
100%. 100%. It's just, I wish I knew which one of these wide receivers deserve to be in that range and which ones in the range above don't. But that's why I'm drafting so many times, because I'm kind of just mix and match all. It definitely, it's been brought up multiple times. Like that does seem to be like, the guy that figures out which of these wide receivers in the later rounds are the right ones to take, or is the guy that's gonna win the whole thing.
What's been cracking me up recently is like just like consuming content and like stuff on the internet and like whatever of like people who talk like so targeted about best ball and only best ball, but like they don't see slates out to the end, so they don't like give like the entirety of the picture credit, because like there's very few. We spend all this time in like prep, then we spend all this time drafting, and then during the season, basically outside of Pete's portfolio review, nobody really talks about like the in season of how the teams are actually performing and that sort of stuff. And then at the end of the season, you do like 1 or 2 little reviews and you basically only focus on the winner and your own personal exposures. And then you just move the fuck on, right? Like it's so funny. Whereas like you and I have played 500 isolated slates on Underdog, irregardless of sport, maybe more than that. And we see the arc and we see it in its entirety. And then you double back and you whatever. So to hear people talk about like they're like coming upon these like crazy new like first ever thought of concepts in like best ball, it just really cracks me up.
It's really hard to kind of grasp that, when you play every day, like best ball, every best ball season is a slate, and it just doesn't feel like it is, but it is. Yeah. It's the facts. Okay, no stacking partners here. I do like the running backs.
Say your prayers. I think we just do this.
Yeah, I am in total lockstep here. I don't see. Yeah, no, these are slam dunk picks for us.
Fuck, that feels good. So you start with no running backs, and then you just go. You take Tony Pollard on the dip because they're talking about both roles, and then you just take the early season production of Singletary before we shoot the moon. None of the bye weeks line up for anyone on this team, and we are so back. Nez, this is a 3-6-7-2 that I'm excited about again.
We got it. We're all the way back. Now we just need to get these stack partners in order, and that should be no problem. No one who would stack us on stream or snipe us on stream. No one in their right mind would ever do that.
Yeah. Paid alluding to something that we used to talk about a lot, and there's some good stuff in the archives there, and we continue to touch on here and there. But like just learning variants, learning how slates will play out, like learning all this sort of stuff. It's like, man, you can't just play like 10 entries on a couple football slates a year and then play like 300 BBM entries or 300 best ball entries over the course of the summer and think it's very strange dynamic to think through. And I'm not trying to call anybody out or suggest anything other than the fact that it's like we give ADP way too much credit, man. We give projections way too much credit. We give ourselves way too much credit for knowing what the fuck's going to happen on a week-to-week basis, on a day-to-day basis, let alone on an entire year slate. Like the variance associated with best ball is way more extreme than baseball is on one isolated day. And every isolated day, we're wrong on 1 out of the 7 days we or we're right on 1 of the 7 days we play, right? And that happened to be last night, right? So it's
so you're saying I still have 3 more years to go until I get a best ball slate, right? Is that what you're telling me?
I mean, you might have to go even more than that because there's so much variance associated with best ball. Pete retweeted something today that is the balance of luck and skill in fantasy football, and it's you have equal players in a home league and you only win 8% of the time, which means you win once in 12 years, for an isolated thing. And then there's little things you can do for micro edges or whatever that we've talked through at nauseam with the daily stuff of, don't take your pitcher when the other pitchers are there and don't double tap this on the turn and blah, blah, blah. So now that everyone's implementing those, it just elongates the variance cycle. So nobody's drafting terribly out here anymore, especially in these stream drafts. So it's the variance cycle is just getting flatter and flatter and flatter, right?
Yeah, it can't really be overstated.
It's a bit, and it's funny that oh yeah, most of us are just gonna lose, and it's well yeah, this is just really fun.
It's true, but I do feel every year I come into the season with the utmost confidence that I'm right this time.
And rightfully so. Damn right we do. Absolutely. But the fact
this is going to be the strangest one yet.
Yeah, it is. We're so early, man. We're so early.
I've already eclipsed my 2023 draft total already.
Wow, good for you. I mean, I will too.
Should I be proud of that?
Yeah, of course you should. Why not?
I don't know.
You make content. You're affiliated. You love the games. You're good at them. Come on.
To be determined.
This is, man, I like this team now. I do like this team now.
It's okay. We fixed it.
Once, if we had got Trey Benson and Chase Brown or something there, I wouldn't feel as confident. The fact that we got 3 guys who I think have projectable volume in at least the first 8 weeks of the season, it makes it more palatable that we punted this, number 5 pick here that would have been probably James Cook or Joe Mixon or something like that. It makes it not that bad when you can take Singletary here opposed to
Yeah, no, I think we got really lucky with the running backs that we were able to group together here, especially because in some slates we can flex these guys, or hey, we've got Kyle Pitts repping the flex spot for us. So
yeah,
holy Trevor Lawrence fall.
Yeah, I mean it's rankings, but yeah, it's still a quote unquote fall there.
Oh, yeah,
we're gonna have some. Yeah, we're gonna have some interesting decisions here, Nez. There goes one of them, one of our favorite kind of contingent plays there.
Yeah.
In Sharps. Chandler goes as well.
All right. So
Lawrence
Eckler
plus
correlates, and
Gabe?
Lawrence and Gabe correlates with Pollard, and we just like get a stack out of the way and save ourselves from getting sniped.
Do you like it better, or do you want a running back here?
No, dude, let's do it.
Okay. Like I'm fine with this. Yeah, the
No, I like it a lot because, like you
Okay.
said, when it comes to stacking, like I love a double stack. I love a triple stack. I love an onslaught. I do it. But if I get to week 17, if I caught myself there, not when. If I
Yeah.
get to week 17, I'm probably going to prefer a skinny, right? Where it's just like all the points are concentrated on this one player. And we've seen Gabe Davis explode in the past. So what if it's like, hey, we like it, it's still a bet on the we still like the offense, but in this one sample, this 1 week, like we have just Trevor Lawrence, and we're the one team without Gabe Davis and without Evan Ingram, and we have the or without Christian Kirk and without Evan Ingram, and we have the skinny stack. I like the play, and it correlates with Pollard. Like it a lot.
Cool. All right, we're back. We're landing this plane. Like that. Look at this. Everybody's telling us to do this. Everyone was telling us beautiful work, easy. We got this. Get your guys. Let's go.
Get your guys.
Yeah,
Oh, we
here
got
go.
them. We're cooking, man. The haters and losers, of which there are plenty, are seething.
Like, call me the hype man, dude. I'm the hype man. I'm full energy. I just love these games, man. I don't play these games to get rich. I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm playing these games to fucking have fun with my friends. Like, if I wanted to maximize my EV and get all sweaty and shit, like, no, come on.
I play so that way I can blast off at the 6-digit prize pools. Or 7-digit to 8-digit prize pools, depending on what I'm playing. That's why I play. It's for the greater good.
Yeah. Beastburb asking, in the past they have given out cacti for maxing the BBM there. Yeah,
I got one back there
in the background there.
I don't know if you can see it. This is from BBM 3.
There you go.
It's nothing. It's still kicking. I literally do not maintain this at all. I don't do anything to it. It's got a little bit of a snatched waist there. Little BBL cacti for some reason, but maybe that's what happens when you starve it and don't give it any water.
Pate's kind of right here. Like, we haven't hit that like mainstream moneymaker event.
That's what I was going to ask you.
Yeah, pushes best ball into like crazy territory. We're still in this like niche little window of like it's just nerds behind closed doors. There is going to be an influx of like recreational money that the barrier to entry hopefully isn't too stark for them to want to come in and be a part of it. I think some of that will stem through brick and mortar. I think some of that will stem through sportsbook tethering, like that sort of deal. I think Redacted is kind of doing an interesting way of getting to it right now. The way in which I originally pitched for the company that we started 4 years ago was basically getting like before anyone knew who Herzig was, and Pete didn't have a huge following, Crane didn't have a huge following and stuff. We basically made a $10,000 contest for those individuals, and like the draw would then circulate the company, and then you would invite VIP guests to that. So as much as I don't like to hat tip the competing companies, I think it's not a terrible idea for exposure.
That's a rising tide situation.
Yeah,
because like the SEO for best ball, there. I mean, Redacted. Excuse me. Whoa. Rudman, I'm sorry. The SEO game, I think Redacted probably maybe trumps them because they probably pay for the ads to like be
so much more
top.
money. Yeah.
But like the SEO though, like Underdog crushes the best ball SEO outside of like if you remove the ads spent on it. Just the organic SEO is absolutely all on UD. So their growth of their best ball platform, I think, raises everything. It's good for everyone. Who do you think on Underdog could win that would have like the closest thing to a moneymaker effect? Like a famous person, you think, or Gritty?
I don't know.
It's Gritty. Let's be real.
I think it would have to be someone with like a crazy story. So like to reset like the dog bowl, for instance, like, like the college guy, I can't remember his name now. Like the college guy who came back to his dorm, he was drunk, he just fired one bullet and then he won and he got a seat and then he didn't even study for it and whatever. Like I think something like that would be really pushing, or like someone who listened to Gilbert Arenas show one time, used the deposit code, played one bullet, won $1 million, blah blah blah. Like it would have to be some crazy outlier story. It can't be a 150
grinder.
guy. It
No.
can't be. It can't be, as much as it'd be cool that it was gritty. Okay, Nez, we should make this.
I know what you're saying. Yeah, just for the point of the question. Any stat? So I think Stafford. Yeah, Stafford here, and then let's just think about this next pick.
I would say right.
Throw him in the queue.
I mean, I don't take him a lot. He doesn't project well. People with rankings don't like him that much. We could do something like Michael Wilson and shut it down at wide receiver, but he might come back and then do Dortch.
Jalen Wright. We need that upside, and we can afford to take a 0 if it does take him a little bit to realize that. I think Wright's the pick.
Yeah, I think we need that ceiling shot. The bye weeks don't overlap. We only got 3 running backs thus far. Like I think we need like some moon shot here, and like as we've talked about with the previous segment of the show, is that shit dries up in a hurry in terms of like just contingent value. I mean, maybe Ray Davis fits in the same mold where at least he's also a run back off of the Garrett Wilson stuff. But yeah, I don't know.
I definitely put him in that Jalen Wright category for sure. Ray Davis could have some standalone too, potentially. I don't know what's there with that, but certainly the same level of like contingency that Jalen Wright has. I don't think either of those guys are carving out their own rules on their own. But
yeah,
that pick, regardless, I think was a good one. They told us that we couldn't land this plane. I remember.
I told us we couldn't, and now it's starting to look like we might be able to. Who knows, man? I've been known to fuck these up more than this. Is this a 2 quarterback team for you now after we spent at like 11 and 13, or do you still think we need to tack on? I think we're going to kind of have like a luxury pick because of not needing a third tight end, that just stacking a quarterback on at the end will probably be good. But yeah.
Yeah, I would still prefer a third QB. However,
2462 right now. Let's hit the reset button here. 2462. Trevor Lawrence, Matthew Stafford, Najee Harris, Tony Redacted, Motor. We only refer to him as Motor now. Devin Singletary, Jalen Wright, Puka, Garrett Wilson, Pickens, Reed, Addison, Gabe Davis, Laporta, Pitts. Fuck, those are some nice names to put together.
I know. I would love to star method some QBs, but I fear that we might have people looking to kind of ruin our time.
Yeah, Magic Carp saying always 3. Yeah, we're landed in the Hudson. That is basically
great callback.
Yeah.
Speaking of, I mentioned earlier about Marvin Harrison and Malik Neighbors giving me, getting a boost in my head from Hard Knocks. Dayball was asking, he was talking about a conversation that he had with Nick Saban. He's like, who in the SEC that you've seen was just like a dog? And he said, he mentioned Brock Bowers, and Saban told him that Brock Bowers is a fucking problem. Were his words. Well, I mean, of course, but that kind of got me. That made it move a little bit for him to say those words.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I want to hit a couple in the chat here. Guys talking about, yeah, like this is a good one, right? Like PR Machine took a hit this year when BBM wouldn't even tell his girlfriend that he won. Like Fareed not even telling his girlfriend that he won, like opposed to the last couple of years. I mean, I think Underdog's been very fortunate in some regard that Faces of Industry had won the first couple of years there because it kept the trickle down effect. It kept the we knew these people. It feels like we know them because we watch them on streams or something. But it still is very niche, like, in terms of like, uh, you need like the crazy exterior push from like, you need some random celebrity to just be like, this is the greatest thing in the world to draft teams like this, like that. And you don't need it as paid promo. You need it as like, it just accidentally happens. Right.
And yeah, I mean, part of the moneymaker effect too it wasn't necessarily about who he was. I don't think it was just like ESPN decided to dedicate a whole bunch of resources into showing the World Series of Poker, and everyone was like, "Yeah, this is fucking awesome." No Limit Hold'em is like, I became a No Limit Hold'em expert at like age 10 or whenever the fuck he won. Like, it was should not have been doing that, but it was obsessive.
Yeah, there's also some good points in the chat with like some of the community contests and stuff. Like we got that MMG one in there right now. So like pivoting some of the communities that have like big followings into draft games, like that's definitely going to be like a stark direction of UD in the future here.
Okay, sorry, I'm focused.
Oh my god, DeMarcus Robinson. I mean,
I don't want him anyways.
I didn't really want him, but like at least he like stacked or whatever.
Vidal with this holy fall.
I don't really like Vidal. I'm Team Pete on Vidal. I haven't been taking Vidal at all.
Okay.
I kind of want to do the Elijah Mitchell contingency bet. That's what this team needs.
Yeah. We need running backs. So that he is a running back.
And he's a run back off of the Laporta thing. I would also entertain Antonio Gibson here as well. Unless you want to shoot the moon on like McCaffrey or
I was gonna say
McMillian.
Drake May, McCaffrey. We can do like Javon Baker with May on the way back.
I don't want to do May. Let's do McCaffrey then.
Okay.
I don't want to take like unstacked quarterback when we still have outs at stacking one of these guys, right?
I mean, Russell Wilson.
Yeah, that's kind of what my like fallback was like a Wilson or Sam Darnold with Addison instead of like forcing the May one. If May comes back to us, I'm kind of like cool with it.
Crutches, is this a shot
crazy?
at me? Aren't you the Patriots bull? You haven't watched any Javon Baker film? It's Javon, baby.
Javon?
I mean, if you guys just want to out yourself as not film grinders, I mean, be my guest.
Like as a name?
His name it
it's
looks
not
like
Javon, it's Javon.
They announcers when they're calling the Javon Baker home runs, they were calling him Javon.
Oh, all right. Interesting. Yeah, Camp says Polk. Most people, Polk is getting the push, man.
Well, we can't take Polk. He's gone.
Yeah, here's another one from Hohams. It's like a big contributor here is the satellite factor of Moneymaker. So like one thing that we've talked about here is like the level up nature of like satelliting people into like a main event or getting them to a price point that they can't afford to play, but they've got their level up to get there. That's the beauty of that. It's like he won online qualifier, then led to another qualifier, then another qualifier, like the trickle down effect of how absurd and astronomical it was, right?
What's he up to these days?
He still plays a little bit, and like he's just kind of like empty spokes guy. I mean, most of the guys in poker just like fizzled out once like the landscape became like so much flatter in terms of like win rates and stuff, and they just found like better places and better spots in life. Like Cabby's a great example of it, like starting ETR and stuff like that. Like he did a bunch of businesses and stuff. Like he was a full-fledged one of the best online pros in peak full tilt era. He was like a sponsored online guy. And then, guys find DFS, guys find business. Like Bales was really good on full tilt back in the day. We used to battle all the time. And then he just, finds different businesses and different whatever, because like guys like that are always looking for like the next spot where the EV is good. The guys that stick around are the guys who aren't like that good or that sharp, and they just keep playing forever, right? Like I tell people all the time I should have quit years ago. Like I was still really good and I was still making good money, but like I probably should have quit like 3 years prior to quitting.
That's interesting. I'm a competitive person, and I am looking for my edge, but like, that's not what led me to playing on an underdog as often as I do. It was just like, I'm just like, I don't know. Say what you will about what that says about me as like a player that like, I'm not necessarily edge hunting. It's just like, I love fantasy and I happen to find a place that I could play fantasy and have success with it. I really don't know what that says about me. I think that kind of makes me fishy for sure in that regard. I mean, it does. I mean, it's straight up like, like I don't, there's no process back here. It's just like, who are the best plays? And all right, let's play them. Let's go. Roll out the fucking dice.
Okay, if we're comfortable with 5 running backs, we could do like Drake May plus someone.
I don't love it, but like, who the fuck else are we gonna play here? Like Roshan.
Let's do it, man. Let's do it. You want a Drake May on this team? Let's do it.
And then with who? Osborne or Bourne? Because I think Javon's gone, right?
Yeah. Do with Osborne.
Some guy sent me his fast puppy exposures, and he had like 30% KJ Osborne or something.
I mean, it's not terrible. They gave him money to be their professional wide receiver. I mean, like, maybe this team looks better with one more running back, but that was pretty fucking fun.
Oh man, we scrambled out of that one.
That was fun. That was fun. I'm here for it.
Thanks for throwing us into the corner and backing our way out of it. I think we did okay. Obviously, the RB room has something left to be desired. There's generic Prince, LOL, but there you can definitely like see a path to these running backs being enough.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a path. I do think, the fact that we got 3 inside the top 30, with these 3, whether they actually deserve to be inside the top 30, whether they actually perform as such, it's a completely different argument. But if we do think that those 3 running backs are capable of being inside the top 30, then you made 2 contingent bets here with some ceiling, and our flexes being filled by wide receiver or tight end anyways.
I mean, I'm going to be honest. I've drafted plenty of worse teams than this in Best Ball Mania. So I like it.
Off it on the clock, July 24th. Nez, I don't know if you saw, I had a little Lamar Flowers fall where Flowers
51 and 46.
46 for Zay Flowers back to the other side of the board. And then Andrews was on the board as well. And someone took Andrews, but didn't take Lamar. And then I got Lamar on the way back.
Hell yeah.
Kind of fun.
Let's go.
I did time out on my last pick and take Pierce. At least it's a run back.
It is a run back.
But I would have taken Jahar Jordan, I think, as my run back, as the pass catcher.
That's a fun team.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad. Yeah, rare combos, right? Like Pepper Tony suggested rare combos there. Aaron giving some context here that Moneymaker actually won a Triton event earlier this year. So maybe he is learning how to be good. You stick around the game long enough, you could, figure it out. Yeah, rare combo of zeros. Fuck yeah. There you go. Antonio Gibson at 192. When we were doing the backup running backs thing earlier and I was sifting through some depth charts and stuff, can you name anybody else on the depth chart at the running back position for the New England Patriots?
No.
Yeah. Jamichael Hasty, Kevin Harris. One guy on the pup list, and Deshaun Fenwick, who was a college free agent from Oregon State. I mean, Antonio Gibson got good money. They have to play him, even if it's just passing downs and shit. Yeah, ETR likes him. He's pushed up pretty high in their ranks comparative to that next grouping of tier.
I like him.
Yeah. All right. Did we land the plane? You guys can vote in the chat. Nez is going to give me a score here, or give us a score here. A 3-5-8-2, where we got greedy at the end here with the Drake May fall and just kind of made it work instead of tacking on a 6th running back, which this team probably needed. But when you're right, you're right. And we're shooting the moon, man. We're playing a contest with 670 whatever thousand other entries. We are playing to win it all. Trevor Lawrence, Matthew Stafford, Drake May, Najee Harris, Tony Paul, redacted, Motor, Jalen Wright, Elijah Mitchell, Puka, and Garrett Wilson, a rare combination there, I imagine. And then Pickens, Reed, Addison, Gabe Davis, Luke McCaffrey, who is accidentally becoming one of my highest owned players here, just because I'm looking for a 7th or 8th wide receiver to tack on with some ceiling, and I just think he's Christian every time I click his name, apparently. KJ Osborne, and then the double elite tight end by accidentally on purpose, Sam Laporta and Kyle Pitts, who is getting to week 17 with both of them scoring in the flex. Nez, what do you think?
I am gonna give this a B.
All right.
Because here's
We've
what's going on
abandoned
with
the
this
number
one.
systems. We're going with letters now.
I did, huh? No, this is a I guess that'd be an 8.2. I don't normally do decimal points. Like an 8 out of 10.
All right.
What's kind of interesting about this team though is it's like a hyper fragile team where the wide receivers are good, the tight ends are great. A B out of 10, yeah. The tight ends are great.
Yeah.
The quarterbacks are good. The wide receivers are very good.
Yeah.
And then what if the starting running backs, who we presume to be starters, can start all season and have good workloads? I mean, I think we did it. I think we did the damn near best as we could, given what we accidentally gave ourselves.
I like it, man. I do think that this team would look a little bit better with Joe Mixon on it than Kyle Pitts, and then we just take a back end tight end. Maybe we take Hunter Henry to make out that Drake stack. Maybe that looks a little bit better. But I'm in lockstep with you, man. I think we landed the plane successfully, given the hand in which we were dealt. I mean, you can't have fucking aces every hand, man. You got to learn how to play a little 6-4 offsuit out of position sometimes. All right.
Got to play your cards, man.
You got to play what you're dealt. And we were dealt. Get ready to learn double elite tight end.
It's what we were dealt. It was nobody's fault. Not even ours.
not even mine. Not even the guy who had all the power in the world to not click it. Oh, man. Fun team, man. I think this Lawrence Gabe stack was, as you alluded to, was pretty fun little one there. And yeah, we got her home. I feel quite confident on that one. Getting some things in the chat here that the Colts just signed Laquan Treadwell. Wow. Failed prospects keeping making their rounds. Another failed Minnesota Vikings wide receiver draft pick that is making his way around town there. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, here we go. This is what Alex is talking about, man. The Jahar Jordan steam is coming. It's coming. Just remember where you guys heard it first, man. Jacob's going to take credit because that video's got 4,000 views already. Just ask him who was talking him up at the fish bowl. There you go. Podge says it's called folding. That's 6-4 off. It's called Floyd. There's 2 men in this world. It's called folding, and Crutch is saying it's 4-bet time. So there we go. 2 types of men in this world.
All right, man. Jahar Jordan. Keep him on your radar.
Chris, this is a funny comment here. Yeah, let's tie a bow on the whole running back theme of the show there. I have seen multiple times in the chat here. Dylan has mentioned now do the Cowboys in terms of depth chart. He wants me to say Nate Pete, who's at the end there, Missouri, as like one of the only guys who might have some juice on that roster. Deuce Vaughn, too small, like that kind of deal. Yeah, man, just names to think about, because don't be surprised when it's week 5 or week 6 and some of these scrolly F downs are firmly entrenched in our player pool for the daily streets, man, when we are searching for scrolly F down running backs.
Nathaniel Pete.
Nathaniel Pete. There you go,
All
man.
right. I'll remember the name.
Yeah. Okay, last one I'll hit on before we go here. Trev asking if the Marv drafter landed the plane. Okay, let's check in here on our guy Sweeney. Did Sweeney land the plane? Well, Audric Estime in the 16th round, 17th round, something like that, gets the Nez stamp of approval. So does the Chuba one. He handcuffed himself with the Brooks pick there, but did a Kyler stack at ADP on that side of the board with Marv Harris. Olave, Diggs, got a Hollywood one, did a little bit of Carolina stuff. He's got 3 Carolina pieces, but then he goes with the Carr stack with Olave. 3 tight end build, one of them being McBride, so it's a double stack, or it's a triple stack rather, with Michael Wilson as well. So if you want to get McBride, Kyler, and Marv, and you want to plan it out, doing it from the middle of the board would be like the spot, right? Because it doesn't always fall back to the right-hand side.
I think I'd rather just like reach on McBride.
Fair enough. And do it from the end side of the board.
Yeah, does that feel better, I guess? Like taking him at pick 38?
I think the one is Kyler. Can you get Kyler to fall from ADP 77, fall past the McBride draft, or fall, I guess you're the McBride drafter in this equation. Can you dodge, 6 to 7 picks of Kyler not getting sniped as unstacked where someone backstacks him?
Yeah, that's the I think you're safer doing what he did.
Yeah. So then, because like this pairing, it's interesting to do it on this side of the board, but like the pairing of Harrison, Olave, and Diggs isn't rare because like you can get that from 11.
You're right.
Because like the Olave fall is like nice in terms of like ADP, but it doesn't do anything in terms of diversifying your correlation. That's why I kept saying you got to push up Neighbors to get like maximum of it. Now, is Olave a better bet than Neighbors? And none of this matters because combos don't matter. If you just play the best plays, then absolutely Olave is probably a better play in a vacuum. I'd say he landed the plane. I think it's a really cool idea. I think it's really creative. I wouldn't do it over Justin Jefferson or Bijan, but like I could see you trying to do it from like the 6th or the 7 hole and then switching up that pairing. Maybe doing it with Neighbors falling in the 3rd round. Like that would be the crazy GM version of it.
Yeah, I think I like what you're saying is making the combos unique. Probably. I don't know. I'm never going to take Marvin Harrison there. I like Marvin Harrison, but that's not something that I'll do.
Yeah,
fun to think through. I like that Sweeney gave us something to talk about. Yeah,
absolutely. I love that people are experimenting like this and doing this, and like perfectly intelligently built team. Tons of correlation. Going to be somewhat unique in terms of combos because your uniqueness combos also, evergreen reminder, don't have to come at the front end of draft boards, right? Your uniqueness combo comes with, actually it's weird because Jonathan Brooks sometimes goes on this side of the board, but like Swift rarely goes on this side of the board. He kind of always is the back end of this tier and falls over here. Corum, kind of same idea there. Yeah. Anyways, intelligently built team that is going to be slightly different than the field. Love to see it. Crutches wants it on the record that he is the KJ Osborne Maxi. Let it be known.
He's not lying.
All right, dude. Tie a bow on that one. We will be back tomorrow. I imagine we're going to do a little bit of baseball, although it's a whack-ass janky slate tomorrow. It's short, and I think it's primarily day games. So tomorrow might be all football again. There's going to be tons of stuff to talk through. Camp news, keep ripping these drafts. We'll find another fun topic to maybe like thematically place the show around. Not playing on Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code MLB at sign up. 50% match deposit up to $250 USD. I know that doesn't apply for most you sickos, but if you happen to be rolling through and seeing Underdog Fantasy for the very first time ever, just consider typing in those 3 sweet letters at sign up. It is mutually beneficial. Nez, anything for the people?
No, I will see you in these baseball lobbies, and we'll see you tomorrow. Weird slate tomorrow. You're absolutely right. I just looked it up. What the fuck are they doing?
Yeah, it's I don't know how it's going to turn out. We got our guy Ben Roethlisberger leading the daytime diamond here with 2 entries at the top
Big
there.
Ben.
I see. Yeah, I forgot to give him a hat tip the other day on the paywall there that took down the $100 contest. So big shouts to Benny Roth. He's got both entries at top there. Chipsy's behind there, and our guy the Sock Muffin up near the top as well. So hopefully that holds for a member of the community, and this could be a fun one. We will do a Charles asking for a Dinger advance rate one. Absolutely. Let's do something like that. Probably when they actually advance, opposed to a pre-sweat.
Yeah, I don't want to fix anything.
Okay. All right. Let's do this. All right. On behalf of Nez, on behalf of Pete, I am John, and most of my exposures are Fugazis and fake, and you guys figured that all out. Everyone, save time of the show. The end. Peace.